Salutation, dudes and dudettes. Toon Critics is the name, and tunes are of course the name of the game. Have you ever wanted to travel around the world but never had the money for it? Traveling to exotic locations just not in the budget? I know how you feel if you've never went outside the USA, mainly because I'm kind of uncomfortable with planes. Well, no need to worry, because today we're going to learn you can visit exotic locations, even if they aren't of this world, through a good $20 remedy known as an animated movie. Not a lot of films come to mind in the category of replicating real-life countries in animated form, but there are a few places that have been recreated in animated form, like New York and Oliver and Company, Paris and Ratatouille, London and 101 Dalmatians, and today we're going to be visiting beautiful Rio de Janeiro in today's tropical love story, Rio. Alright, let's do some backstory. The original idea for this movie was back in 1995 from director Carlos Saldanha, who you might know as the co-director of Ice Age 1 and Robots and director of Ice Age 2 and 3. Rio was originally going to be about a penguin who washed up on the shores of Ipanema, but that was quickly changed when Saldanha learned about Happy Feet and Surf's Up, with penguins as their main protagonist. Frankly, I'm glad there is one less penguin movie to worry about. To prepare for Rio, Saldanha showed maps of Rio to his animators at Blue Sky Studios to create an amazingly detailed digital version of the landscapes and landmarks of Rio de Janeiro. Some of Saldanha's artists visited Rio to see the locations they would need to make, and some visited macaw experts at the Bronx Zoo to get a better understanding of how macaws acted. It looked like Saldanha was more than prepared for his newest animated feature, and he was ready to prove that he could make more than just Ice Age films. Well, according to box office results, as of May 8th, 2011, Rio has become the first film of 2011 to pass the $400 million mark. But box office records don't define a movie, remember that. What defines a movie is what we're about to cover right now, the story. The movie certainly doesn't waste any time capturing our attention, with an amazingly catchy intro number that shows the colorful wildlife of Rio. We then go to the cold, snowy streets of Minnesota, where we meet our protagonist, Blue, voiced by Jesse Eisenberg, who lives a sheltered life in a bookstore with his human owner, Linda, voiced by Leslie Mann, who had found him in a crate after he was smuggled from his home in Rio. 15 years later, he is bonded with Linda and has never learned to fly, accepting he may be the last of his kind. One day, an ornithologist named Tulio, voiced by Rodrigo Santoro, wishes to bring Blue to Rio as part of a repopulation project to keep his species alive. Hey, wait a second, where have I seen this before? Upon arriving in Rio, Blue meets a female macaw named Jewel, voiced by the drop-dead gorgeous Anne Hathaway. During the night, they are kidnapped by smugglers, led by a man named Marcel, voiced by Carlos Ponce, and his pet cockatoo Nigel, voiced by Jermaine Clement. Together, Blue and Jewel escape, and through it all, in the end, big surprise, they defeat the bad guys, fall in love, and have kids. Okay, already I have some gripes with the story. The whole guy and girl forced to work together to get home and fall in love storyline reminds me a lot of Alpha and Omega. And Blue being unable to fly like everyone reminds me of Happy Feet, which the main character in that can't sing in order to be accepted. Personally, I would have liked to have seen some originality with the story. I mean, with a love story, I'd like to see them plot more than just the opposites attract and hero conquers his fears in the end cards. Speaking of an unoriginality, Jesse, you made the exact same mistake as Mr. Baruchel. You played the same socially awkward character in The Social Network. Jeez, what is it with socially awkward actors? Imagine if, like, Michael Cera was in an animated movie. Who wants to bet he would play the exact same character he always plays in a movie? Odds are pretty good, I'd say. Now, despite that, Blue was an alright character, and manning up in the end, while being predictable, did serve as good character development and well-earned maturity. Jewel is by far my favorite character. She's a young, free-spirited, independent woman who's not only got brains, but also a strong heart, and is more than capable of taking care of herself, as seen when she has been secretly finding a way to escape her cage. I wouldn't have chosen anyone else to play Jewel other than Anne Hathaway, but what really surprised me was her singing. I had no idea she could sing, and quite frankly, she's got a brilliant set of pipes. One of my other favorite characters was a toucan named Raphael, voiced by George Lopez. Well, Lopez, you should feel proud of yourself. 2011 is going to be a great year for you, man. So what's the next movie? Of course it's The Smurfs. Raphael's a smooth talker and a travel guide of sorts. He knows just about all the places in Rio and tries to help Blue learn how to fly with useful advice. Well, at least he's not useless, he serves his purpose. Linda and Tulio's story was a decent subplot. Tulio's kind of like that guy, you know, who talks to birds and acts like one to try and talk to them. He's a nice guy, but a nerd at best. The same goes for Linda, who's kind of one of those nerds who is incredibly beautiful. We do see her shed her feathers, for lack of a better term, and not only falls in love with Tulio, it's never made official in the movie, but it's quite clear, but also falls in love with Rio itself. Now we come to our comedy relief duo, Nico, a little yellow bird voiced by Jamie Foxx, and Pedro, a fat rapping red bird voiced by will.i.am. I don't know about you guys, but I swear, Pedro looks like that one red bird from Angry Birds. Apparently there was a partnership with Rovio Mobile and 20th Century Fox to promote the film with a game called Angry Birds Rio. That seems a little more than a coincidence to me. Personally, Pedro is pretty annoying, almost annoying as those racist Transformer 2 robots. Him getting in your face does not look cool in 3D. Rather, it gets really annoying really quickly. Now for the villains. Marcel wasn't as threatening as the movie made him out to be. I mean, yeah, he was a sly, conniving weasel, but Nigel had a more devious mean streak to him. The only backstory we have from him is that he was once a famous television star until he got ousted by someone younger than him. This is told in his villain song, which is a rap song. Yeah, Jermaine, you have about as much street credit as the New Kids on the Block. Also, I noticed this song reminds me heavily of that one song for Fern Gully 2. It could be just me, though. Regardless, while Nigel probably won't make any top 11 villain lists, he's still a somewhat formidable foe who would probably kill a human if he had the chance. Oh, and quick question. Why exactly was this guy in Rio? This is Louise, a bulldog who owns a mechanic shop, voiced by 30 Rock's Tracy Morgan, and helps break the chain binding Blue and Jules' legs together. Trace, it would really help if you learned to not play yourself in everything you do. Oh look, it's Tracy Morgan as a dog, Tracy Morgan as a hamster, Tracy Morgan as a mediocre black comedian. There's something you should look into, dude. It's called credibility. There's also this guy named Morrow, voiced by Brian Baumgartner, who's the leader of a bunch of monkey pickpocket thieves who get very little screen time and is pretty weak as a villain. He, like Louise, did not need to be in the movie. He looks like a villain they could have used for the Rio TV series. Oh crap, I hope I didn't give 20th Century Fox any ideas. Wow, what can be said about the visuals? They are absolutely beautiful. There's great samba music in the air, the streets and buildings look very realistic. Being eye candy is one of its best strengths. There's this one scene where Blue and Jewel are on top of a hang glider and they pass by the Christ the Redeemer statue, and I have to say, the artist put 110% into making this reel look just like the real one. I mean, it feels like you're actually there. Not bad, Blue Sky Studios. With only about 3 character songs in here, my favorite would have to be I Wanna Party. I'll admit I was dancing a little bit to it, and why not? It's incredibly catchy and I still hum it to this day. I've come to have a better respect for samba music. I love the rhythm of it and it easily brings a smile on my face. As for everyone singing, Hathaway did a great job and Einberg did a decent job. I didn't think he could sing. To my surprise, Jamie Foxx stole the show with his performance. Of course, I expect nothing less from him after his performances in Dreamgirls and Ray. Final verdict, a solid 8 out of 10. It's got a catchy soundtrack, beautiful visuals, great voice acting. I definitely enjoy this movie, and it's worth seeing in theaters in 3D. While it does borrow elements from Alpha and Omega and Happy Feet, despite its unoriginal story, kids wouldn't care, nor would they notice. If you're looking for a movie that can put a smile on your face, Rio is the movie for you. If I were to sum this movie up in one sentence, it would be this. Rio is a fun-filled, hip-hop meets samba musical comedy that's fun for the whole family. Mr. Saldana, excellent work. You have a possible Academy Award material movie here. Now I bet you're all wondering, what's your next review gonna be? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's something I've been putting off for a long time. It's gonna take me a while. Well, depending if I can get my editing program to work and gathering up all the necessary footage and writing it. But I will get to it, and I can promise you it will be awesome. So with that being said, I'm the Toon Critic, keeping you totally tuned for your viewing entertainment.